Let's go.
From Nintendo and Illumination.
The Super Mario Brothers can take care of the kingdom.
Comes a super-powered adventure. On April 1st.
Pack our things.
The galaxy gets even bigger.
He knows that's my bike, right?
Yes.
The Super Mario Galaxy movie. Rated PG. Only theaters April 1st. Get tickets now.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
Okay, caller 1 wins courtside seats to tonight's game.
What? I won floor seats?
You did.
I've been calling for 13 months.
Wait, Chris?
Yes, I finally did it.
What are you gonna wear?
Men's Warehouse. They've got today's looks for any occasion, and I need to look like a celebrity.
Don't want to stick out.
Exactly. They've got Chill Flex by Kenneth Cole, Joseph Abboud, and a tailor at every store for the perfect fit.
Congrats. You can stop calling now.
Not a chance.
Get any look for every occasion at Men's Warehouse. Love the way you look.
How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Tap the banner or visit usaa.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number, save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. I'm Teacup.
And I'm She-Cup, and we are so excited to bring you this podcast dedicated to unraveling all the mysteries woven in to the Assassin's Creed universe.
Each episode will be diving into a different lore discussion, from Pieces of Eden, solar flares, and the Isu to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus. We will seek to uncover it all.
So step into the Animus, join us in the shadows, and maybe even take a leap of faith. Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also know me as She-Cup, and I am here with my co-host.
Hey, I am Austin or Teacup.
That's right, you are, and we're back with another episode. I think we're on a character deep dive today. So I'm just going to turn it right over to Austin and let him tell us where we're going and who we're talking about.
All right, we are going to Austin's favorite Assassin's Creed game, Assassin's Creed 3, and we're going to talk about Achilles Davenport. And so, important character in Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed Rogue. So I think we'll just dive right in and start with some fun facts. So the name Achilles is obviously, if you know, originates in the Greek as Achilles, which is basically has an unknown meaning, but it's thought that it's derived from the Greek word akos, which means pain, which I think, given the story of Achilles Davenport and the story of Achilles the Greek hero, is probably apt.
Yes, I agree.
Or the Achilleos River, which is another river that might be derived from. And then the origins of the surname Davenport can be traced to a civil parish of the same name located in the county of Cheshire, England. I thought that was interesting. In Assassin's Creed 3, was originally set to feature a scene of Achilles telling Connor about his family and their deaths and how he contemplated suicide after losing them, but originally was cut from the final game. I think it's a little heavy for a video game, probably.
Yeah.
I understand why they cut it. Until his death, Achilles can be randomly encountered on the homestead, either walking its grounds, checking on the stables, or sometimes washing his horses. Achilles actually shares something in common with an assassin who lived several centuries before him in Altair. They have similar deaths. They both pass away peacefully in their base of operations while sitting in a chair holding a message for another assassin, with Connor taking a sheet of paper and Ezio Auditore taking the memory seal, respectively.
Yeah, but Ezio finds his like decomposed body and Connor does not.
Right.
It's not a skeleton.
No, but I think that is the point of like they do die and like they sit in their base of operations. They're not killed. They're not like destroyed in that way.
They're not
like,
assassinated.
Yeah, they just die.
Yeah.
Which Ezio himself also, like, he does die on a bench, and there's theories that he is killed by that guy, but like he dies in old age as well.
Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that theory. It ruins the story for me.
I think it does too. So let's just jump right into his early life. So he's born around 1710 in the Caribbean. Achilles was recruited into the Brotherhood in the mid-1730s and trained as the last student of Itabai, the mentor of the West Indies Brotherhood. During his training, he was described by Rona Dismore as a serious child. It was also during this time that Achilles met Adewale, whom he came to view as a great inspirational figure. And so, like, I wanted to, like, stop here because given the timeline, like, no, he would have been back in England, but, like, Achilles was trained by people who knew Edward.
Right.
Like, and I think that's an important thing about this because, like, Edward would go back in to lead the British assassins, and then he's killed. There is no way when Haytham lands in the colonies that Achilles does not know exactly who he is.
Yeah, that was going to be my question of, like, does Achilles know that Haytham Kenway is related to Edward Kenway and has become a traitor to his family name?
Yes, I do believe so. Because Adewale mentions it in Rogue. And then additionally, Connor has a conversation where he says, Achilles tells me that my grandfather sailed on ships.
Okay. So yeah, he does know.
Yes. So that's important to know. So like he is obviously trained in the West Indies and brought up over there. And I think that's important to note for Achilles himself, like in the American colonies, like Achilles is not like raised on a colonial plantation and then a freed slave. Like he came from the West Indies. Like he was not an escaped slave that established all of that, which I think gives like his position probably a little more believability.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I also like that they didn't just like resort to kind of the like trope of like, oh, well, he was just a freed slave. And, you know, not that that can't be powerful, but it is a little bit, I don't know, it's just been done.
Right, but he's born in the Caribbean. So like he is not like quote unquote of African in origin. Like he is from the Caribbean and all of that there. And so in 1740, basically, so a couple years after his recruitment, he's around 30 years old. Itabai sends Achilles to the 13 colonies to establish a new brotherhood. Upon arriving in the colonies, Achilles was surprised to discover that he was not the first assassin, and he met with John de la Tour, who he learned was working under the direct command of the Assassins' Council operating in France. And so this is important because France is the stronghold of the assassins, as we see in Unity, that their establishment of that council, like they basically run France at this point. So I do think it's really, really interesting because France has the Assassin Council that runs it, and then London has the Templars who are pulling the strings there, and Reginald Birch sends Haytham, and obviously the French have sent their own assassin into that standpoint there. So John informed Achilles that it was intention to create a network of information that would help identify any threats aimed toward the colonies, either by Templar or the Isu. Achilles deduced that the Templars would certainly turn their attention towards the colonies given the opportunity. So they start working to create a brotherhood to prevent any disturbance. So it's important to note that with Itabai and the French council there, assassins get to the colonies first. And they start creating the brotherhood. Though Achilles does not like De la Tour, he doesn't hold him in high regard and refers to him as an arrogant bastard. And my response to that is he's French.
They're all like that. Yeah. No offense if you are French, but like if you're French, you probably know that anyway.
Yes. I think Americans can be that way too.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Every country has their problems. Like the French are arrogant. Like that's like one of the first things you learn.
Yes. In 1743, Achilles officially inducted Liam O'Brien into the Brotherhood, a young man he had previously met in 1738. He becomes Achilles' first student, and with his aid, Achilles was able to gain valuable allies among several colonists across the frontier. Achilles and De la Tour travel to Quebec in search of Matthew Leville, a slave who suspected of possessing valuable information regarding the Isu. However, assassins learned that he had passed away from an illness, but discovered that the government had arranged a marriage between him and Angelique Denise, though a ceremony never did take place. She was put to slave auction. In the spur of the moment, De la Tour basically purchases her and frees her. And that Achilles learns that they were able to find the precursor Isu knowledge before Matthew's death, and that this person's chosen name was Abigail, who would become Achilles' wife.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. So in 1745, Achilles and Abigail accompanied John to Louisburg in order to locate a safe house under the ownership of Nicholas Court, hermesist, who De la Tour believed possessed valuable information regarding the precursor temples. This is important, is like Achilles is not at this moment really that obsessed with the Isu. He's more focused on the Templars, but De la Tour is very much more focused on like these artifacts, which I think is notable of like the positions of power that the West Indies Brotherhood and the French Brotherhood are in.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because like that's very much what they're involved in Black Flag too. And so it just kind of makes me wonder if like it makes sense with history that the European brotherhoods would be so invested in like, okay, we've got to go to the New World. We've got to find these artifacts. We've got to find all this stuff that's been rumored before the Templars get to it, and kind of have that race, not for colonization the way it is like, you know, with the land of America, but with like finding the things that have been left over.
Right, exactly. And so I think that's part of the tension between Achilles and John, in that like John is obsessed with the Isu and Achilles is like, no, we need to establish ourselves first.
Yeah, which I can understand Achilles for sure on that.
And so in order to avoid detection, Achilles and Abigail pose as John's slaves, which provided basically access for them to get into the city. But unfortunately for them at this point, the conflict between the French and British troops in the 7 Years' War came to Louisburg, and they basically attempt to enlist the aid of the French, but were declined as the French attempted to reclaim their captured territory, and they tried to do it through treaty negotiations. With no alternative, Achilles and John helped prepare the fortress defenses for the impending British attack, while Abigail searched for the remainder of the city for the safe house.
And I just want to clarify for the listeners, because I had to look this up myself. When we're talking about this Louisbourg fortress place, like that's in Canada. That is, I think, off the Isle of Nova Scotia. And so we have left the Americas. We have gone north.
Yeah, it's important to note that like the 7 Years' War, as it known in the colonies, the French and Indian War, is really fought in like Canada and the northern colonies. Like it's not, it does a little bit, but like it's not fought in the southern colonies, which is kind of one of the tensions that leads to the revolution, in that northern colonies are like talking about all their losses and the things that they suffered in the 7 Years' War, and meanwhile the southern colonies are like, we're fine,
we made bank.
Yeah.
Well, and also the fact that like it really does lead to the southern colonies maybe not being closer to like Britain and Europe, but like not having as many issues with them, and so they didn't see a problem with the status quo,
right?
Which you never do when you're benefiting from it,
right? And it's important to note that like they're not suffering from taxation without representation as much as the northern colonies are less agrarian and more industrial and trade, and so like their tariffs and everything that are imposed on them are more affecting them, whereas, to quote Hamilton, your debts are paid because you don't pay for labor.
No, that's exactly it.
And so that slavery existed in the northern colonies at this point, but like not to the degree that it did in the southern colonies.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think it should be said and stated that in the time of the American Revolution, slavery had not yet become what it would just before the Civil War.
Correct. That is correct. These, ancestral, like 100 slave plantations, like, yeah, some of them existed, but not into the extent that they did right before the Civil War.
Well, that, and the most important thing that changed the entire landscape of slavery is the invention of the cotton gin.
Correct.
And that happens like 1790 something.
Yes.
So, things change. But let's get back to Achilles.
So basically, as they do this, this kind of like Louisburg fortress is really like the kickoff of the 7 Years' War in the Americas. And so in this thing, John and Achilles and Abigail, they get into a point, and basically John looks at Achilles and basically names him mentor of the Colonial Brotherhood, and then turns to sacrifice himself so the two of them can escape. A moment that Achilles will remember. And then by 1746, Achilles formally becomes mentor of the Colonial Brotherhood, as he has a gift for both recruitment and organization. Under his leadership, the assassins build the Davenport homestead, which they use as a base of operation and spanned across the colonies and most of the frontier. This is where we go as Connor. Like, this is the assassin home. It's a large piece of land, and it's a huge base of operations. He maintained contact with numerous other assassins guilds across the globe, including the French, and he also strengthened relationship with the Iroquois tribes and a woman named Connie, as we know her, who is Connor's mother. I know you love
Heart
her.
eyes. I love her.
So it's important to note that like this time as Achilles is doing this is happening after the prologue of Assassin's Creed 3. So like Hatham comes to the colonies, and then the 7 Years' War kicks off kind of after. Like we play a little bit of the 7 Years' War when they're going after the former Templar person that like ends it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like the 7 Years' War is going on and all of that stuff. And then like Hatham has his run-in with Connie, and like...
Run-in? He didn't like fall into her. Come on.
I know. He has his adventure and romance with her, and then she goes and meets Achilles.
Right, okay. Run-in.
He also befriends colonial activist Samuel Adams, and he marries Abigail. I think it's really funny that was paired into there, because that sentence, if you don't know what we're talking about, could be very confusing, given that Abigail Adams is a very famous first lady, and Adams, though not in relation to Samuel Adams.
Right. John Adams.
I know him. And gave birth in 1748 to their son, Connor, who we know will sadly die. In 1749, Achilles was informed by French assassin council that the Aquila was constructed and was meant to serve as the foundation of the assassin navy. Achilles' tenure as the Achilles captain, he rescued Robert Faulkner, a veteran soldier who was grateful for the assassin's aid. In return, Faulkner offered his service in creating shipping route connecting colonial assassins with the European branches of the Brotherhood.
That's important.
Yes, which we know that the Aquila is Connor's ship, and that is what happens there. Hatham is the only Kenway who doesn't get a ship. Sorry.
Darn. He doesn't deserve one.
Oh, I thought you liked Hatham.
I do like Hatham. That doesn't mean I agree with his choices.
That's fair. All right. I think that's a good place for our mid-break, unless you have some thoughts you want to wrap up about Achilles.
And I will probably get into this later. Achilles, his life is sad. Like, it's just a tragedy. Like, he tries so hard to do the right thing, and he makes a lot of wrong decisions, and yeah, just a lot of tragedy befalls him.
Yeah, I agree. We're just going to get into this because I have a lot of thoughts about his portrayal in Rogue.
Okay.
But we'll get into that after the mid-break.
Okay. Well, then let's head to the middle of the show.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
LinkedIn is pretty great at a lot of things, like helping you tap into the latest trends and insights in your field. We cannot stop your coworker from tapping her pencil. LinkedIn can help you find new jobs that align with your career goals. We cannot help you find the source of that weird smell in the office fridge. Ew. And while we can't stop your coworkers from bringing their hobbies into the office, LinkedIn can help you bring your career to the next level. LinkedIn is the network that works for you.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
Gary the Snake. And your last name? The Snake.
Dream Team. Get new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home. Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG. And right now you can get Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 3 months with a special limited time offer. Ends March 24th. After 3 months, plan auto renews at $12.99 a month. Terms apply.
You look like the one thing in the world Alcibiades wouldn't take to bed. Can you even see out of that thing?
Mock all you want. When those Malakas and Zakros see this beast charging towards them, they will know fear!
Let's start light. Tell me a joke.
Why must samurai always battle one another? Because there is only one way for a samurai to get ahead. Ahead. I did not say it was a good joke.
Makose! Shoot! Shoot the flying demon!
All right, this is the middle of the show where we take time to talk about all the things that have to do with the lore cast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. Now, the first thing I have to shout out is our Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our current patrons. We are so grateful for all of your support. We love you. We thank you. And if you want to get in on those awesome Patreon benefits, you can do so at patreon.com/ACLorecast for as little as $5 a month. Now, the next best way to support us is to leave us a rating, a review, a comment, whatever you can do, wherever you listen to the show. If you leave us something with some kind words or 5 stars or whatever, we'll read it out on a future episode. And today I have one to read from Blue Chains, who commented on the What Characters Would Have a Podcast Together episode and said, "Great ideas, but here were my immediate podcast ideas. Eivor and Connor doing a hunting podcast. Ezio and Jacob doing a dating/hookup podcast, Edward and Adewale doing 2 guys, 1 ship, and Claudia and Aveline doing a fashion and finance podcast," which the last one, I would love to hear that. Edward and Adewale may have some competition with the 2 girls, 1 ship. I'm just saying.
I agree. This just made me think of another one that I'm going to share because I think it's funny. but I would like to see Edward and Connor do a podcast titled My Disappointing Son and My Disappointing Father.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. All right. Thank you so much, Blue Chains, for leaving us that review and those extra ideas. The last thing I have to shout out on the middle of the show is our Discord server. You can come hang out with us, talk about all things Assassin's Creed and video games at the Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. Take a look at the link in the episode description if you want to join. And with that, we can get back into it.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
No, you're right. Let's all just screw around while the world falls to pieces.
Hey, this isn't easy, you know.
Right, like we're all on vacation out here?
Enough! Look, everyone's under a lot of pressure, but we're the only ones who can stop Abstergo, so we need to keep it together.
She's right. We need to be a hive mind, people.
Anybody up for some reconciliatory yoga? Anyone?
Very funny, guys.
You have my thanks.
Keep the sword, Ezio.
Do I know you from somewhere?
Don't you recognize me? It's me, Mario!
Uncle Mario?
It's been too long, Nipote. Far too long.
Malaka. All right. So that's really like kind of what sets us up for this. So we'll talk about Assassin's Creed Rogue. Again, I'm not going to go through all the events because you can go and play those games. But Achilles serves as mentor of the Colonial Brotherhood during this game, as well as a tertiary antagonist for Shay. And I put antagonist in quotation marks. Just because, like, the other assassins that Shay knows are more, like, direct antagonists in there. I also think Shay himself is his own antagonist in that game.
He stands in the way of his own development.
But, like, Achilles kind of stands in that way of, like, representing for Shay the, like, recklessness of the Assassin's Brotherhood.
Okay.
And like Achilles holds that, which is why I put him as like a tertiary thing. Like Shay doesn't fight Achilles, Shay doesn't hurt Achilles. Like Achilles is something that is beyond Shay's reach in this game.
Do you think that Shay would try to kill Achilles if he had the opportunity?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Shay and Connor are very similar in a lot of ways, in a sense that Shay will remove anyone that is an obstacle in that path.
Okay.
But I think like with the foil to each other, Shay is loyal to people who he thinks deserve his loyalty. Connor is loyal to ideals, which I think is where Connor succeeds in being an assassin, where Shay would fail.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think Connor, I mean, look, Connor has had to be loyal to ideals over people because everybody in his life has failed him.
Mm-hmm.
Except for Achilles.
Yes. Achilles and his mom.
Yeah. But I mean,
they both die. So.
Exactly. They both die. Right. So he has to kill his best friend and his dad. I mean, sorry, Shay's got nothing on him.
No. Yeah. We don't have time for that. In my opinion, Achilles is giving unfair treatment and is seen more as like this arrogant, kind of like power hungry, and doesn't want to have anyone question him. And I think it's a missed opportunity to engage in real debate of ideals and like ideologies. And I've talked about that a lot with Shay's character deep dive and other talks of Assassin's Creed Rogue. But I really think that like this is proof of like the limitations of the Animus in universe, in that like we see this period of Achilles through the eyes of Shay. And so we see and perceive Achilles as Shay saw and perceived Achilles, which that in itself is a limitation
of the Animus. That makes sense, but to me, it's a little bit of a reach to explain, hey, maybe it was just bad writing.
I think it is just bad writing. But this game basically serves to set up why Achilles is like he is in Assassin's Creed 3. Which, to get in there, like, he is in Assassin's Creed 3. He very much serves as, like, the reluctant mentor at first. I very much compare Achilles to Yoda in this sense of, like, Achilles in Rogue is like Yoda in the prequel trilogy, and Achilles in Assassin's Creed 3 is like Yoda in the original trilogy.
So, in this metaphor, you're saying that Shay is Anakin?
Sure.
Okay.
But, like, and just this kind of, like, thing of, like, we're introduced to Achilles. He's so much more cynical, but he's also more hopeful and more grounded in himself. And I think that that's an important intake here for the character, because Yoda is like that. Like, Yoda is aware, just because he's aware of the failing of the Jedi does not mean that he has lost faith in the Force and in the light side. Versus in the similar of Achilles, just because he recognizes the mistakes that he made and that led him there, he never says that I don't believe in the assassin's cause. I don't believe in the freedom of humankind. I don't believe in stopping the Templars. He says, I failed and my time is done.
He doesn't believe in himself.
Right. Which I think makes him so interesting as a character when we first, and it's like this reluctant mentor, but he serves as mentor and eventually like basically like surrogate and caretaker for Connor.
Yeah.
As he raises him in this moment. He guides Connor through the revolution and constantly cautions him against rash action, which Connor desperately needs.
Like I swear it's like every scene. Achilles is like, Connor, don't be rash. Like, you've got to think through it first before you make a decision. And Connor's like, no, be fine. Spoiler alert, he is not fine.
No. He is very critical of Connor's involvement with Hatham. He cautions Connor strongly against informing Washington of the existence of the Templars and Assassins. When he dies, he leaves Connor the Brotherhood and the estate, which I think is a really interesting moment, because there's a conversation between Liam O'Brien and Shay where he'll say, like, Shay is basically like, you are Achilles' heir. To Liam, you're Achilles' heir. And he's like, Connor, Achilles' son, might get the homestead, but you'll get the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
Connor Kenway gets both.
Yeah.
In that moment.
It's sad. But I mean, it does make sense, and I think because Achilles does become a father to Connor Kenway, and Connor Kenway does become a son to Achilles.
Yes.
Truly.
And we'll kind of talk about this as we're talking about his personality. Often he is described as serious, and I do think he takes a serious tone, but he is also hilarious.
But he's funny in his like bluntness, in his matter-of-factness, not because he's like trying to be funny.
Yes, and there's like this scene of like, I love this scene between Connor and Achilles early in that where Achilles gives Connor his name, and he says, people will think with your complexion that you're a Spaniard or somewhere else. And he said, better to be that than a native. And he said, both which are better than me.
Yeah.
And Connor says that's not true. And Achilles just kind of smiles and laughs at him. Which I think is just such like a moment of saying like, what Connor said is true, and Achilles knows that it's true. But Achilles is laughing because he knows the world doesn't believe it's true. And I feel like it's a perfect embodiment of the principle of nothing is true.
Yeah, that's a great point. That really is a good point. I've never thought about it that way.
I love Assassin's Creed 3.
We know.
So in Rogue, he's portrayed as believing the assassin cause to be infallible, which personally I believe is a very anti-assassin take to any kind of creed or ideology.
Well, especially for an ideology that says, as we just mentioned, nothing is true.
Right.
But it is interesting to me because like he does not come across that way in Assassin's Creed 3 at all. In fact, he comes across as we're nothing but fallible because I've made every mistake in the book.
Right. Which I think there is this thing of like, he believes the assassins come out so strong in the Brotherhood, in the colonies, because of they strike really big with the Native Americans, because the Native Americans are like, yeah, like your ideology like already meshes with what we already believe, and so we kind of pull into that. And then they have the support from the West Indies Brotherhood, and the French Brotherhood support them there, and so like they come out on this really strong foot. And so I think that he is guided really by clarity and conviction, versus Assassin's Creed 3, he's guided by hope. And I think that's I really was trying to put this together when I put this show notes of like the nuance that exists in the writing in Assassin's Creed 3 of like Achilles is hopeful. So much hope. He embodies hope in that game in a way that no other character does, even though we're introduced to him in filling with despair.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's powerful and intentional because it's only the small quiet hope that comes out of the most despairing and broken person is the most powerful version of hope.
I agree with that. In AC3 he is much more cautious than he is in Assassin's Creed Rogue. He cautions strongly against really, really big movements and bold movements. He's less trusting of the world. In Assassin's Creed Rogue, he's more trusting of humanity and the world. And he's less trusting that the world will naturally bend towards justice, which I think that both the Assassins and Templars would agree that the world does not naturally bend towards justice.
Yeah, we have to make it bend toward justice.
And like the Assassins believe we make the world bend towards justice by removing injustice. And the Templars believe we make the world bend towards justice by controlling the injustice.
Yeah.
And that's a core at their difference. And so like, even though he has like this less hope towards justice and this less trusting, as I said, he is more hopeful. And like, I think there is a moment that like he sees Connor as not only like the hope that the Templars will be stopped, but the hope that Connor is Achilles' redemption. Redemption for the Brotherhood that he lost, the Brotherhood that he failed, everything like that. Like Connor represents Achilles' second chance and his chance to make right on the things he does, which I think is why Achilles is so on Connor about not making the same mistakes that he did.
Well, that and the same mistakes that Shay does, because I very much see it as like, you know, you've spoken about, you know, he's redemption for like the Brotherhood and the mistakes that he's made. But to bring it to a more personal level, it's also redemption for the son that he lost and the mentee that defected to the Templars.
Very much so. Very much so. Connor would go on to describe Achilles as a kind and caring man who was more of a father than Hatham ever was.
Yeah. Well, Hatham is really not a father ever to Connor.
I agree with that. He tries to be in a way of like trying to manipulate Connor in that way. And I think that like deep down, this is what makes Hatham a bad Templar, is that Hatham does care for Connor, but he doesn't know how to show it because his own relationship with Edward is so fraught.
Well, that, and I think also he doesn't know Connor. Like, he doesn't know him as his son. He only knows him as an assassin.
Right. And like, you might have held affection for his mother, and his mother might have trusted you, but she didn't trust you enough to tell you about him.
Yeah.
She didn't trust you enough to
let you be in his life.
Yeah.
Which, and there would be no way for her to go be Hatham's wife, or unless Hatham is willing to give up everything, he could maybe live with their tribe, but he would always be an outsider. There's no way that they can live in happy wedded bliss and domesticity.
No. And Connie is way too smart to even
think that would be an option for them.
For a
which
minute.
is why she doesn't tell them, because Hatham, I think, absolutely would be the kind of person who would be like, oh, well, we can make it work, and then it would not end well.
Right. Because Connie understands that power does not ensure everything, and Hatham believes that his power will protect him from everything.
Yeah, and it's just not true.
Yeah. as we see.
Yep.
So I have some quotes, and then we can talk about why we love or hate the character. Achilles, to quote, "Let me tell you something, Connor. Life is not a fairy tale. There are no happy endings." And to contrast that, his final words to Connor in his letter, "I'm grateful to have met you, knowing you will guide this land and these people to a better future. Yours in brotherhood, Achilles." This is about the Templars. As long as he lives, all are in danger. The same is true for your father. When you first came to me, you understood what had to be done, swore you see it through, if not for the brotherhood, for your people, and all those threatened by the Templars. In your haste to save the world, boy, take care you don't destroy it. Is this not why you fight, to protect your people? Your struggle is the colonist's struggle. In helping one, you help the other. I think these quotes really sum up Achilles as a person. You see his caution. I love in your haste to save the world, take care you don't destroy it. I think that's a cautionary tale for everyone.
Yeah.
And I do really love the contrast of like one of the first things he says, life is not a fairy tale. There are no happy endings, to the you will guide this land and these people to a better future.
Mm-hmm.
You will be the happy ending.
Yeah.
And then the like tying to Connor, because Connor is like insularly focused in the thing of like, I just want to help my people. And Achilles really broadens his world of saying like, you can't help your people while other people are threatened. All oppression is a threat to freedom everywhere, regardless of who's it directed at and who it suffers from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is like the most important lesson for the assassins to learn. And that's what keeps the assassins from becoming the Templars, when they recognize that regardless of the mask it takes, regardless of the source, oppression is the enemy of freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Cosign, fully agree.
Mm-hmm. And that right there is exactly why I love this character. The nuance, the depth, the depravity, the hopefulness, the mentorness, perfect 10 out of 10 character.
I also love Achilles. And I think the way that I think about him is I kind of think of him like a tree, specifically a tree that gets struck by lightning or is in a forest fire, like in their prime. Because I really think that Shay's defection, it just completely alters his life, uproots everything. And he's just kind of like a dead tree walking around every day with these wounds that can't be healed until one spring day, he finally starts to bloom again when Connor comes into his life. And it takes a long time, I think, for him to heal from these wounds that Shay causes. And we see that in the beginning of Assassin's Creed 3, where he doesn't trust Connor. He doesn't believe in Connor. He doesn't want to train Connor. He's gruff. He's sassy. He straight up is like, no, I'm not doing this. And Connor's walking around his house, like trying to get inside. And he's just like, no, I'm not doing this again. I'm not letting myself be hurt this way again. And then Connor changes him and Connor opens his heart again. And it's such a good and compelling story for so many reasons. Number one, the writing's great. The nuances of the character, I just love. But at the end of the day, the story of a person who's been hurt by something, who allows themselves to open up their heart again, to potentially be hurt again, it is a powerful one, and it is one that we can all relate to in our own ways. And so I think that Achilles' story is powerful to anybody.
Right. And I think that like one of the reasons that I do love the story, and I wish that if you just take Achilles in Assassin's Creed Rogue, you fail to learn the most important lesson, which is that Achilles learns. And like the whole tension is that like he comes across the like sights and he's looking at it and he says to Liam in that thing and he goes, Shay was right. Of like, we shouldn't be messing with these. Like, these are dangerous and other these things. And I think that is Achilles' regrets, is that he didn't stop to think about what he was doing. He saw, oh, we need to get these artifacts. We need to control these temples because we need to control the Isu. And against the race against the Assassins and Templars isn't about freedom and oppression. It's about who's controlling this power. And I think that is the real failing of the Brotherhood, not in that like they're like, oh, they're actually just all about control and wielding to that, is that Achilles forgot in that moment of what they were actually fighting for.
Right.
And in Assassin's Creed 3, he clearly has not. And he cautions Connor from ever that. He never mentions going after the temple or the Grand Temple or any of that to Connor. He's like, you stop these Templars. You kill your father. You kill Lee.
We're done.
We're done.
Yeah, he's singularly focused on the Templars themselves, not on any of the Isu artifacts and Isu crap.
Right. Which I think is like a point of like, it's why I come to Berg of like, you tell Shay's story to disembark the assassins, but all they have to do is look at the rest of Achilles' story to make the argument for why they're right.
That's true. That's so true. He's just a great character, and I love a character who makes mistakes and actually learns from them and does something different.
Exactly. I mean, it's why we love Altair. It's why we love Ezio. It's why, you know, we all this. Even Connor makes mistakes and they learn and they trust and they do all these moments of like just these real like human moments that exist in these assassins that I think we're lacking in the later
new
games.
ones, yeah.
I mean, we get Bayek obviously makes mistakes and learn, but like we meet Bayek when he's old.
Yeah, it doesn't. He's not old. He's middle aged. Yeah. Let the man live. My God, he's only like 40. Yeah. What's wrong with you?
He's an older. He's lived a life.
Yeah, he's not a young man.
Right.
How old are you, Austin?
Old enough. And
closing in on that.
It just is like a point of like, I'm really getting tired of the video game protagonists that start like they're already actualized almost.
Yes. Like, I want to see the messiness, but at the same time, I also understand why they do that, because we don't, as a society, we don't have any media literacy. Like, they show us a character that does bad things and does evil things and makes mistakes, and it's like, oh my God, they're the most horrible person ever, and we have to talk about how horrible they are on the internet all the time, and anybody that likes them, well, you're a bad person too, and it's like, this is a character, guys. Like, okay, it's a character, you know? We don't have the media literacy to be able to like somebody for their journey, their arc, without automatically having to co-sign all the atrocities they've done.
Yeah, 100%. When we were applying for grad school, this is one thing that I will say about this, and then we can close in. I didn't have the cleanest start to undergrad and had some really bad things, and I was always worried about that. And finally, one of the grad school admissions counselors said to me and said, I am far more interested in how you ended than how you started.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about characters. I'm far more interested in where they end up than how they started.
So true.
Because when you're starting out, everyone makes mistakes, to quote Hannah Montana. And, you know, just like that's the point of like, that's why we listen to these stories, is to watch people grow and learn from their mistakes and make better decisions so that we can have the hope that we can make better decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, you know, that's the perfect place to end it. So I'm just going to say thank you to you for doing the research. This has been a character deep dive that I've been looking forward to for a really long time. So I'm glad we finally got here. And thank you for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. If you have any lore questions, theories, or topics you'd like us to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It is the best place on the internet.
You can also support the show financially and ensure its continuation by becoming a patron at patreon.com/ACLorecast. If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, comment or rating, or join our Patreon.
The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Podcasting Network. If you enjoyed our show's intro or outro music, give a big shout out to Pipeman Studios.
And until next time, Assassins, and remember, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
When a wasteland detective and a vault girl cross paths, no criminal is safe.
You're both under arrest.
Don't move a muscle if you know what's good for you.
Based in Bethesda's Fallout series, follow Walter and Bunny as they traverse the Texas Commonwealth and New Vegas, busting big crime rings.
We'll need all we can to expand into Vegas territory.
And surviving anything the wasteland can throw at them.
It's him! It's the Mothman!
Featuring a series of nail-biting narratives and guest stars from across the Fallout community. It's anybody's guess what thrilling case is up next.
War never changes, does it, Bunny?
No, it certainly does not.
True Vault Escapades, a Fallout audio drama. Available anywhere you get podcasts.